Hello and welcome to this special episode of Prime Sports with Matlatsi. I'm joined by a top midfielder in his heyday. He played for Celtic, Cosmos, and made his name at Moroka Swallows. A guy who went about his business effectively but quietly. I'm really happy to say that I'm joined by Rotman. Lefa Tsutsulupa. Lefa, thanks very much for joining me. I've been chasing you for a while now. It's not that you didn't want to come here, but our diaries were not aligning. I'm told you had to take leave for this interview.
Yeah, no, finally a proper email was sent into my inbox. So I'm here now.
That's cool.
No. I hope this email finds you well. That kind one.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm also on leave, by the way.
Yeah. So you took leave for this. So we feel special that you actually took leave for us. Okay. I would love to start on a lighter note. When I announced on my social media that we'll be talking to you, one person said, "You ask this man this question: how long has he grown his dreadlocks, and will he ever cut them? Will you ever cut your dreadlocks? How long have you had them?"
Jesus. I think it was 2001, 2002, somewhere there. Yeah, and I was still at Bloemfontein Celtics when I started them. So yeah, it's been actually they've been there for it's been a few years. They've been there. They've been part of my identity, I guess.
Trademark.
Yeah, sort of. So yeah, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, you love and enjoy them. All right. Another interesting question that I said I must ask you. You never had a nickname, despite being an important player for your clubs over the years. Players of your caliber normally have got nicknames, but you never got one. I mean, do you know why?
I've no idea, to be honest. Because as a player, you simply just want to do your best each and every game. Yeah. And all these nicknames obviously comes from the supporters or your team, even your teammates. But for me, whatever names that they tried to put on me didn't stick. Yeah. So I think maybe my surname was much more powerful than the nicknames. So eventually everybody started singing to the stadium.
Yeah, every time you got the ball.
Yeah, So unfortunately, I never had one.
That's what it is. Yeah. All right, let's go back now. Where did it all start for you? Where did you grow up? How was your upbringing and all that?
Okay, so I was raised by a single mother. I've got two younger step brothers. So I'm also from a family that actually loved football. My uncle used to own an amateur club. Wow. So that's where we started our football journey as the younger ones in the family, because I also have uncles. They are uncles, but they are not that old. They are like 1 or 2 years older than me. And we obviously used to play together. And that's where we honed our skills. Also at school, we played in school teams. We played in different competitions that were offered under the SAFA institutions back then. The Milk Cups, the Champions, the Champions League, and
everybody played in that league.
No, that was a proper that was a proper tournament. And then eventually at high school played in the United Bank, which for me I think that's where I got to travel and I got to learn a lot from playing against other provinces. So it was quite an interesting journey.
So growing up, was it only football, or you took part in
I did everything in school, bro.
Jack of all trades.
Funny enough. I'll tell you all I did. I did running.
Oh God.
I did volleyball. I did basketball. I did tennis, and in basketball I played provincial, but I was the shortest guy in the field, and then I gave up.
So how did you?
I gave up. You don't know. And then at some point the principal said, because you play football, you guys are fast. Come do running. Yeah. Well, I only did one.
Sprinting?
200 meters.
Phew.
That was my first and
So
the
you
last.
also South Africa gold medal in
No, it didn't work out. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as well, I played tennis,
Mhm.
which I also played professional.
Mm.
So yeah, I tried my hand at so many things.
So you were an all-round sportsman from an early age, yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you're young, you have this energy that
Mm.
obviously needs to be, you know, you need to get rid of. So football or sports in general gave me that avenue to just be myself and important thing, mingle with my peers and I get to learn experience life at that level. So yeah, that's good.
But ultimately football became the one. That's what you ultimately fell in love with.
I wouldn't say fell in love with it. For me, football was basically a means out of poverty or a means out of making a better future. So when I was doing grade 10, I actually had a chat with my mom. So in terms of will she be able to send me to tertiary, etc., blah blah blah. And then you know how parents, I don't know what my son will always make a plan.
Yeah, we'll go.
But deep down, you know, this is not going to
gonna
happen, you know, because I was that clever already at that level. Like, you know, as much as old lady is trying to soften everything up, but it's not going to happen. So I need to find a way. So what I did, I like, okay, here's football. I need to dedicate time to it. I need to train. And luckily enough, like I was already starting to get into United Bank tournament at school.
Regional teams.
Yeah, you know, you get to travel to other provinces. I played against Abuja Wupule in Joburg here. You know, I went to Cape Town. I played against some of the guys in Cape Town. So, and Western Province was always the top province back then. So I started to, you know, picture myself in all these different environments. So what also helped was the fact that Free State SAFA level also offered training camps. So we'll go to training camps. They will teach you life skills. You'll get, you know, to understand nutrition side of things, leadership side of things. And then I started formulating a plan to actually make this like a living, and then I dedicate my time to it. So it was a planned thing.
It was a plan. And I mean, I guess sometimes that's where really the hard work happens. When nobody's when nobody's looking. And also it can be tricky because you don't know what's going to happen. You are just doing it, but will I be professional? Not be professional. What's going to happen? Must just go to school. And decisions must be taken at some stage, even at that early age.
Yeah, most definitely. But like I said, for me, it was just the only way out. You know, there was no way I was going to fail because, like I said, I had time to actually plan and set up some training programs. Luckily, my other uncle, Thabo, already at that age, as much as he was still a player, but he had like a football coaching knowledge. He was already coaching us at that point, and he was very helpful because we used to do so many things that we used to see obviously on TV, you know, other players doing, and then we'll try and emulate all those things. And he will obviously guide us in terms of how we actually need to, starting with fitness levels. Where are we at? How are we going to get to the level that is needed? And during those 2 years, that's from obviously grade 10 to grade 12, Free State Stars and Bloemfontein Celtics, I was so lucky because my town, Ladybrand, is between Qwaqwa and Bloemfontein. So at some point, they will come and play their friendly matches during pre-season in Ladybrand, and then we get to see Abu Sramele Tswaka, you know, Abu Velem Freeze, all, and then we will cut and race for them sometimes, and you get to see all these players, you get to mingle with them, and that's when you're like, oh, okay. So this is not actually a joke. Yeah, you know. And then you'll get like a thumbs up from the senior players, like, "Hey, Mtana, you're doing well. Keep it up." You know, you're like, and then you're like, "Oh, okay." So it means this thing is working.
And it's the motivation you need. Yeah?
That's the motivation you need. Yes, you know. And I think at some point we actually had like a local squad that played against Free State Stars B team, and I think Saramia Lutaka was coming from an injury or something, so he was playing in the B team. So we played, and then, you know, when you're doing things, and you were like, yeah, no, sharp, keep it up. Don't do it like this, do it like this. Even though it was an opposition. And you realize, oh, okay, I'm killing the right take. And then we push
I'm
it.
not that
push it, push
bad.
it. No, it wasn't that bad.
Now, obviously, in life, there are critical moments in life. Sometimes you need a break. When is your break? To say, okay, you are leaving Free State, now you're coming to Johannesburg.
Okay, before I get to
Yeah.
the break part. So here's the funny thing. Now all of a sudden you become this player that people think you are the player that's going to move to PSL or to Premier League at some point. And in Free State, there were still some NFD teams. So one was in Velcom, one was in Bloemfontein. So I went to trials in Velcom. I think I stayed in Velcom for like 6 months, trying to get into this team, but nothing was happening. And I remember the first time going there to try my luck, I was not even allowed to train.
Ooh.
I was told, you're too short. And trust me, I was too short because the players there were tall. So I didn't take offense to it. So I stayed in Velcom for like 6 months. I played for another amateur team that was called Mets, and and then from then my uncle also organized trials in Bloemfontein. So from Velcom, I went straight to Bloemfontein for trials. I was with a few guys from my hometown and my uncle Tabo, and first day we were like, I think about 500 trialists.
Oh.
The coach back then was the late Styles Pumo and Srame, and Leonard Ponani. So we got there. Obviously, you know how it works. Midfielders this way, defenders, and then you realize out of 500, 300 are midfielders.
That's South Africa for you.
Yeah. So everybody wants to touch the ball. No one wants to be a defender. No one wants to be a goalkeeper. So like, okay. And then we got selected. And luckily for us, we managed to play. It was actually 15 minutes each half. So we managed to play. And then by halftime, after I was taken out. And my uncle was taken out. And after, actually post that day, Brastas just came like, the two of you, I'm going to sign you, but you need to finish the trial period. So we sit in there like,
That's feeling, eh?
But you don't have to tell everybody you're going to do that's a little sharp. Because you still need to go through all the process and everything. And luckily for me, I think being with him and actually making out of trials together gave us some level of support because I knew I can rely on him and he can also do the same. And for us, that was like the biggest moment for the two of us. And that's how football as a professional started. And
then now we said we'll come back to like the big break now.
So we trained, post the trials, they made a team of 11 players. We trained, and then I think after a month or so, Brastiles calls us, myself and my uncle, into the office. We got there. The late. Yeah, the white head. Obviously, we were so intimidated on that day. And
by the man, eh?
Yeah, I think we don't give him enough credit. He's done amazing work for football in general in the Free State and also in
South Africa generally.
You know, it wasn't easy running a football team back in the days, but he did his best. And so he's there sitting there, and then you know how Tate is. Obvious, it's the first time meeting Tate, and we there sitting, and Bastas is there, and he's like, I'm like, okay, Tate. Okay. He says, Bastas, you guys have been waiting for this day, so the day is here. We're gonna sign a contract. Do you have managers? My uncle and I will look at it. What is that? we don't know. We're like, oh, little man. Oh no, just the two of us. Oh, okay. How old are you? was 19 at the time, 19. My uncle was like 20, turning 21. Like, oh, okay. So, yeah, when I thought, this one they can sign on their own.
Yeah, because no agent, no
so
agent's fee.
The first thing he just said, hey guys, this is how much I'm gonna give you. This is how much I'm gonna give you. You'll get the paperwork later.
The money, Nelimnat.
You know, listen, you're 19-year-old. You're from the township. You're getting into professional. Money is not. You're not worried about money. You just want to get in there. Yeah. So, even the two of us, we were like, well, we need this chance. So we just signed. We didn't really care about the money. I don't want to lie. But for a 19-year-old, my first salary was like 2,000 rand, same as with my uncle. So we just signed. That was like the first year, and then I think we signed 2 years, and then before even the first year finishes, we were called again to say, we think there's something here with the two of you. Can we relook the contract?
Yeah, well, more years.
But luckily for us, it was more based on the salary side of things than the duration.
Oh, yes.
So it worked for us. So we got a racing
which is not bad.
Which was, cool. Yeah.
Now, I mean, I can imagine Celtic during those days was not a Mickey Mouse team. I'm not saying they are now, well, you know. But when you get there, do you still remember the first day training? Who were there, the players that were there?
Okay, so when I joined, there was a year after Celtics was dominated by the Olympic team. We used to have Abraham Teude, Skula, Lewang Kukame, Fabian. So, and then we came in. Obviously, there were also senior players there, Abovidem Freeze, Jan Kotowani, you know, and it was scary in a way, having obviously watched these guys on TV, you know, and finally getting to be their teammate. But more importantly, they had an aura about them. It was not just your regular players. These were national team players, and some of them, they were already legends of the team, like our Freeze. So we, as youngsters, we needed to find our own space. And it wasn't easy because we're from amateur, so we need to learn the right way. There's a lot of things. The right way to how you carry yourself. Now you're a professional. You're no longer. You know. Secondly, you can't be carrying yourself the same way as the guys who are regulars who are in the national team. But unfortunately, this happened maybe a month after signing. I was called into the office and I got there, and there was a Groot man there who was the GM at that point, and he said to me, "Hey, when I'm fine, where are you from?" I said, "No, I'm from Manyate." "Oh, okay. Why do you walk like as if you own this place?"
So he was putting you down?
No, I didn't take it like that, like he was putting me down. Sometimes people see things
that you don't see.
You understand? Yeah. And that's how I was taught at home. Like, there'll be certain moments where people are not going to understand you. They're just going to look at you. It's either they're going to like you or they're going to hate you without you even opening your mouth. They already made a picture of who they think you are at that point, or who they think you're going to become. Whether that is going to be beneficial to them or it's going to be a threat, I don't have control over it. So now as a 19-year-old, I was like, good day to you, sir. And yes. That's the nature of football.
Yeah. Now on the field, training, I'm sure you were like a sponge.
First day. I'm sorry if I think you will edit that. I was called your master on the first day. Because remember, Celtics at that point was dominated by the colored guys. Yeah, and the majority were seniors. And they're so used to a higher level of doing things. And our mistakes were childish, you know, and some people
Schoolboy.
don't have, yeah,
Mm.
some people don't have the patience to say, no, you just arrived.
Give him time.
You know, they want you to be
Yeah.
at their level, whether you're young or not, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so I was called that the first day, and
Hey.
you know, it had was like first time, like, why Grootman calling me?
Yeah.
You know, and we after training we went back to where we used to stay, and we had a discussion about it, like, you know, we were also throwing our own words, you know, but eventually we realized that we're not at their level. So it's understandable to be frustrated with us. We still have a lot to learn. So it's either we retaliate back as a youngster or we learn. We chose to learn. So the next time that word was again, it was like, I'm going to get there, don't worry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the environment was conducive for us to grow, which was important because that's what the late Brother Styles made sure of. He brought all of us, I think we were like 6, 8 of us, youngsters, and he created an environment where we felt protected. And secondly, the environment was conducive for us to learn. So we were not under pressure. After every training session, we have discussions with Serame. If it's not Serame, it will be Leonard in terms of how we think the training was, etc., etc. And you know, and then we grew in that environment. And thanks to my Grootman, because they were there also to protect us during matches. In training, we were enemies because they knew how difficult the matches were going to be. But in actual official matches, they were our protectors.
Yeah,
So
because
that's how
tough
we
love
grew.
is very important sometimes, because if they don't push you during training,
You think you have arrived.
you think you have arrived, and that can be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, but you don't stay too long there.
I wouldn't say 4 years was is too short. So I spent like 4 years at Celtics, 2 obviously in the Premier League and 2 in the First Division. And then
Because you were relegated with the team.
yeah, I was relegated with the
Unfortunately,
team.
yeah.
Yeah, boardroom decision. So yeah, it was funny. It was painful.
Yeah.
Because I think the last game we played Sundowns at Loftus and we beat them 1-0. Unfortunately, we played Lebo Kukame on that day. No one checked that Lebo had,
Was suspended.
yeah. And then 2 days later, years later, we have celebrated already, we survived.
Hey,
Years later, no.
you have to go down.
Yeah. So I got relegated sitting at home.
Eish.
And then all of a sudden you need to go and report in NFD.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But you go to NFD with the team, and then but later, you ultimately now you leave Celtic now.
yeah, so it was a great experience in the NFD in the sense that
It's a tough league, yeah.
it is, and back then it was even worse because traveling to Venda and playing in Toyando, and it was difficult, guys. Going to Cape Town and playing in that rain as well, you know. But yeah, so 2 years in the NFD, and then towards the end of second year, we played a friendly tournament in Bloemfontein. It was one team from Lesotho. It was Sundowns and Cosmos. And then during the friendly games, met up with Mambush. I met up with, obviously, Colin Clemo. Yeah, and everyone was like, no, after this, we need to talk, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, sharp. And then played the final. We won the tournament. And after that, Mambush was like, I don't know what I'll call you. Colin was like, don't worry, Braje will get a hold of you. And then I went home.
So everybody wanted you.
Yeah, and then I went home. I'm chilled to get home. And then first week passes. I'm like, what's happening? I don't want to play for you. Second week, teams are starting preseason.
Yeah.
I'm
They
like,
forgot about me this
yeah, I know, it's not happening. And then you listen to the news, maybe Lady Sundowns is at camp, whatever. I'm like,
But they said you got a call.
Yeah. And then for some reason, phone call again, Braje.
Oh.
Where are you? I know I'm in the Free State. Oh, are you at home or in Blue? No, I'm in Bloemfontein. Okay. I'm going to book a flight today I want to see you tomorrow. Just like that. And then Brajay booked a flight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Following day, I was in Joburg.
Yeah.
Got to meet Brajay, signed the contract, went home to say bye-bye to teammates, to say bye-bye to my old lady. My old lady didn't want me to come to Joburg because back then Joburg was like,
It was a stigma.
yeah, my son is not going to come back, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the risk I have to take. Yeah.
Now, how, Prajay is an enigma. Obviously, he's a legend of our football and all that kind of thing. And like getting a call, and on the other hand, is Jomasono.
Yeah.
I'm sure you dropped the phone.
Honestly, no. And this has bothered me a little bit. When I was young. I saw people as themselves, not what they stood for.
You are not easily starstruck.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I was also taught that respect, you need to earn it. So whether you have done work that was exceptional and people got to know you, blah, blah, blah. When you meet Lefa, is how do you greet Lefa? You understand? And how do you treat Lefa? Because at that moment, Lefa doesn't know you. So I didn't know Brajay on a personal level, but I understood what Brajay stood for.
Yes, yeah.
So my thing was like, okay, let me see. And like sitting there and like, okay. And then he gave me the respect that I needed. But I guess that's what every team owner who wants to sign you.
They will, because
they make you feel welcome and everything.
Until you start fighting for balance and money.
Yeah. So, but again, I think for me it actually started making sense at training when I started working with him, and then you realized, oh, okay, he didn't get to this level that easy. Yeah, by fluke. He actually did the work and he's street smart. He understands how football works and there's something to learn here. And secondly, players were still a Makrot man.
Yeah.
Our Andrew, our Colin Clem, or Sipos Party. So I was still regarded as a youngster, even though I was already like 23, 24. I was still regarded as a youngster. So I also needed to bide my time and wait for my chance.
You didn't just walk into the
No. There was no way back in those days you were going to walk in. It wasn't.
These days,
no, you were not going to walk in. There were quality all around, hungry players, focused Makrot mania who wanted to pay their bonds. So
they don't want to come out there.
No, they didn't have.
Now, the one interesting thing I'm picking up now is that you were very lucky. At an early age, you have been mentored by strong characters, experienced people, which these days is not quite there in our football. Yeah,
but trust me, the treatment was not that good.
Yeah, well.
So, as much as this senior players were our guidance, but they were also our harshest critics, and if you were not like strong-hearted, you were not going to make it, because certain things that they will say or do were sometimes meant to break you in a way, or to see if you will, come out, and like I said, the treatment in general was to make you feel like, yeah, you're a youngster, and you still need to earn your stripes, and you need to work hard, and for you to get to my level. And they'll make sure that you're not at their level, and they will tell you to your face. Or in Tana, if you don't know what to do with the ball, just give it to me, and you're thinking, but I'm also a professional player here, and then they will tell you, if I say left, just go. Don't ask me questions. And then you see like, I'm going to go left. I'm going to get exposed, but I'll go left. Because Khormani said go left. And then eventually you learn to say, the reason why he was sending you left. Khormani, energy is low. So if you go left, that's where you're gonna do the most as a youngster. He's gonna just cover. So he's basically your sweeper. So he's sending you to war. You get there, you get into tackles. The opponent jumps up, he just sweeps the ball. So then you learn, they were not actually being bad in that sense. They were also protecting themselves, their energy levels. So once you start getting older, you become economical with energy. So you know when to run, when not to run, which spaces to attack. So they were at that level. My heat map was like corner flag. So they knew that. So I came in as a youngster with the energy. So how do we use the youngster with the energy? He must mark, disturb everything. We just clean up. So for me, it was like, okay, but again, you get into all these fights and you toughen up, you get kicked here, you get kicked, you get elbowed there. The Makhotman are just sweeping up. After the game, they laugh at you. They got you. Okay. But they are the ones who sent you there. You know? And you're like, okay.
So they're baptizing you.
Exactly. But later in years, you realize, I actually went through this to be here so that, I can also have that knowledge, that wisdom, how to guide other youngsters, how to be economical about my energy as well. So I guess
it's working
playing,
smart.
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah.
Now, do you think maybe when you look at the clubs across now, that we lack that thing of proper senior players? I think one of the things that was said by the Sundowns Coach Mangoba, he was talking about Chiefs in particular, that it may not work that a big team like Chiefs is relying on the youngsters to carry them. Do you think it's something that happens a lot in our football?
Of late, yes. I've noticed that. I think the youngsters have been given too much responsibilities early in their careers. And these youngsters, they've got the talent and they're willing. It's not like they're not trying. They're willing to do all this, but they lack the experience. And sometimes they're being found wanting. And as supporters or people this side of the fence, we judge them harshly based on the responsibilities that are given to them this early in their careers. Secondly, I believe the environment that are created around players also plays a role, because back then we'll have like 4 or 5 senior players who we will call them team captains. These are the people that every week they will sit down, they will talk in terms of how they see the team in general, how not criticize the coach, but are the tactics actually suiting us as a team? Do we have any grievances towards the coach or the management? And then they filter that, and then they're able to talk to the management. At the moment, I think you're on your own if you're a player. If you not feeling the coach's instruction, you can't really go to him and say, as a youngster, coach, but I prefer to play on the left, not on the right. But if you had that committee of senior players, they can go on your behalf and say, this youngster has said this and that. Can you try and see how we accommodate him? If then it's up to the coach to do that. But at least your point has been raised by senior players, which makes more sense. Because sometimes we also judge these young boys by saying, he doesn't want to do it, he want to play where he prefers to. But these boys have been in the academy for years. They know their strong points, and now they're getting to a senior level where all of a sudden their roles are being switched, and the demands and the energy and everything is different. Because in a Premier League, there's no time to actually train. Let's be honest. It's more about rehearsals. Training is more about rehearsals. So today you are right winger. Midway during the game, you are now being brought to be number 10. The game ends. Analysis comes out. You now have 2 scopes, because now we're judging you as a first half as a winger. We're judging you as an attacking 10. Where do you fix going into the next game? The next game, you're starting on the left. You can't actually focus on one position and actually try and improve. I was lucky because I started as a central midfielder. Whether in attacking or defending, I was still in the spine. So I understood there are certain basics that apply here. Whether I like it or not, there are certain basics. So now I think they have been pulled, and then all of a sudden the young guy is a striker, like in a team that wants to win the league, and you're thinking,
the experience is just not there.
It's not there, but you now putting this young boy there, and you have like 30,000 people in the stands screaming,
You've got 100 million on Twitter.
Yeah,
it's
scary.
Too much.
No, is it?
Yeah. But looking at what's happening now, you think if you were playing now, would you have managed as a youngster now in this new age world that we are in now?
I don't want to put it on a personal level, but here's the thing. Every generation is wired based on the demands of the particular sport in that particular time.
Yeah.
So our generation was wired differently to the current generation. So the current generation is wired to deal with everything that football throws at them.
No.
There's a reason why they're in a tech world. We were not in a tech world. Maybe later in my career, they started introducing science into football, and then diets, and they grew up in the system. So they know what is expected. So mentally, physically, everything it's always been there. So it's up to them to, not be scared to ask questions. I think they're more scared to ask questions because personally I feel like they're too soft or they sulk if they don't get the desired response, which it's very detrimental to their over development. Exactly. So they need to be. They don't need to be scared to ask questions. Secondly, they don't need to be scared to experiment and experience things. Lastly, they need to be brave to make decisions on their own. Because at the end of the day, when we look at stats, it's not stats based on instructions that were given pre-match or even at halftime. It's what we see on field. So it's you. We judge you based on what you're putting out. So your output is what we judge you on. So when people come and give you negative criticism, it's not because they don't understand football. They see what you're putting out. And unfortunately, or fortunately, our fans now are so clued up in football that they understand every aspect of it. You can't really...
Yeah, fans are...
because also they on social media, there's information readily available, And secondly, or maybe lastly, I feel the current generation, especially the younger, let me talk about between, let's say, 17 to 22, they're isolated. It's rare for them to ask advice from a senior player. And the senior players that we have now are so scared to actually approach the young ones, and offer advice. Because we always get this thing, I know your time is going to be up very soon.
Yeah.
And,
what are you telling me?
So they just need to find that synergy and work together to better their teams. I think that's how.
Yeah, because sometimes a little bit of arrogance may be there, but we were still talking about Cosmos. How was it, man? And also working with Brajay, a funny man. Lots of stories.
Yeah. Cosmos, I learned so much.
Yeah.
I learned
university there.
I learned the football side of things. I learned the spiritual side of things at Cosmos.
Yeah.
I think that was first time being exposed to Muti at that level. It was hectic.
How hectic? Can you just...
It was a team thing. It's not an individual thing. So you get there, there's a culture, and obviously to play you need to become part of the culture. And for a lot of us, it becomes a shock because all of a sudden this thing becomes like training. It's every week, you need to attend to this thing, you know.
Yeah,
like as much as you attend to
you can't just say this thing. What is this thing? What the
you know, before a game, obviously you have pre-match team talks and tactical sessions or video sessions, and then you go to your room and then there's another second meeting that is being called now to, partake in these things that are organized by whoever organizes
special
in the
projects.
team. Special projects, yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So it becomes that. Now it was just hectic. But again, from the technical side of things, obviously dealing with the football side of things, obviously dealing with Rajay, like I said, who is also street smart. Sometimes football is not just about, moving X to Y and coordinations and all that. It's about players being able to think for themselves and offer solutions when the game is still on, and he instilled that to the rest of the players. So we knew if something is not working, we need to come up with a solution ourselves, and then he'll just back us up, and also he knew how to take pressure from us and put it on himself because he's Brajay.
Yeah.
So if he start making noise on the line, it's not because he's making noise at us. He actually wants attention from the opposition, from the referee, and then that goes to him, and then we can now focus on the match. So those kind of things actually helped us a lot, especially me developing in his team. And we obviously managed to win, I think, a cup in my first year when I arrived there, which was my first gold medal, the SAA Super Cup. And yeah, I think the rest is history.
And like you're saying, a well-assembled team. I mean, I remember some of the guys I remember Chawe, the keeper, Amakrut, like you said, we call it Ntlemo, Jaws of Life, and Clint Supadi, and Waffle Lira, and all those people. It was a well-balanced, good team. A team that competed.
It's a team that competed in ball play and smart.
On the issue of smart, Cosmos has always had that reputation of Baju. Was it something? Was it a coach thing, or you guys were just doing it?
No, it wasn't a coach thing. It was an written law. So this was us. If we can't get the ball, nobody must have it. So all the tackles we saw with Andrew Rabutla, even though some of them were over the top, but it was more of us, trying to get a hold of the game. Because we knew if certain players get intimidated, they will never play, It was rare where you will get playmakers that will actually challenge the Cosmos defense. Back then, it wasn't, because you jumping the wall in the middle, you get into Sipo, and then at the back you have Colin and then Andrew. You're not gonna, one of the guys is gonna get you, and it worked for a while because, like I said, the guys were starting to get a little bit older, and then all of a sudden we wanted to be more of a ball-playing team, and that didn't work, in my opinion. Hence the struggle, because now all of a sudden people realize, oh, actually Cosmos can also be softies, okay. So, and then I think that's where everything just started to fall apart.
And as time goes on, you perfect your craft as a strong quality central defensive midfielder. And I think now you were ripe when you left Cosmos, going to Swallows, which was where really you took your game to another level.
Honestly, I wasn't.
Mm.
I wasn't ripe at Cosmos. I think I was still developing some identity. Let me just put it like that. Because remember, maybe I didn't say it in the beginning, at Celtic I was more like a playmaker sort of.
Mm.
And then at Cosmos, more defensive, link, nyana. And then getting to Swallows was a little bit tricky. But I believe at Swallows under Gavin, that's when I learned technical discipline.
Mm.
To say, this is your area. If you're getting out of this zone, you are messing up with my system. So these are your guidelines in terms of how you move forward, in terms of you know, protect my center backs. This is how you link up with everybody. And it actually, I realized like I was using less energy.
Mm.
I was more involved in the game.
At Swallows.
At Swallows. I was more involved in the game, whether be defensively or offensively, because once the guy's defense wins the ball, I need to be the link between myself and the attackers. So I always needed to avail myself. So, and with each game, I then started to grow into the system. And thanks to guys like Maimani Piri and Goodburn Mazibuko, who were already part of established team, who used to guide me a lot. I think when I got to, so I was very scared of turning with the ball in the middle and like, yeah, you always play safe. But at one point,
10.
Yeah, no, back then I was pass where you facing. I used to, and now I realized, actually they made me realize, no man, your ball percentage, your passes are actually going backwards, not forward.
We're never going to hit anyone.
Exactly. So I'm putting our defenders under pressure unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So I need to,
because they can press them.
you know.
Yeah.
So now I need to develop bravery for me to, if I have this thing, I'm going to protect it. I'm going to turn it so that I can initiate an attacking move. And it took time, mistakes, the same mistake that Zwani did the other day against Sundowns. I did that a couple of times. I grew, I learned, and it started working. You know. So I'll say but again, the people around you play a very important role to make you a better player. Just put like,
isn't it a shame that when you get to Swallows, you've been playing pro football for a while now, but you are being corrected on things that under normal circumstances are dealt with at under 12. Hold 10, scan.
Yeah, I know scanning was not so I think back then. It was play where you're facing. Yeah, so we grew up with play where you're facing. Hence, even at that level, you used to play where you're facing.
Yeah.
You know, don't lose the ball, but you don't realize the damage that you're actually doing by being safe. You know, I didn't mind because those are the things that I was never taught. You know, and now at that level and with the ambition to play for the national team, I needed to change how I approach matches, how I approach training. I needed to learn from not just my teammates and the opposition. So I started actually learning how Tinashe was doing, learning how Akuna was doing. Remember Akuna?
At Sundowns,
yeah. Molekele at Ajax. Kanku. Then you started taking bits and pieces from all these guys and trying to better yourself. And I think it took me like maybe 2 years to actually form an identity to say, this is how I want to play this football. And from then I just backed it up with physical ability that I had, and because I knew if I can't play, then let's run. You know, if you match me with running, then let's fight because I'm from Cosmos and let's just kick each other. You know?
And then did you have variety because in the position where you play sometimes short, long, sometimes you must see somebody. You really need to, because you're like a traffic guy that in traffic in that position. Short, long, you know. Did you have that variety?
Yeah, no, that I always had when I was young. The good thing is we grew up enough, you know, tupale. So already you are
It
playing in
teaches you certain
spiti.
things,
Yeah, so you need to have it. So I already had that. It was in a professional setup, it's just that you don't have time.
Yeah.
No one gives you time. So it's always first touch. If your first touch is bad, Katsande is on your back.
Recover.
You need to get up. You need to chase. You know. So obviously, with different coaches that I worked with, there were certain aspects that, based on their tactics, that you needed to be more to excel in, so that their tactics can work. With some, for example, Gavin, it was more like, how do I reach my striker? How do I reach the wingers? Because that's how we used to play. With Julia Leal, it was more about how do I connect with my playmakers. So it wasn't more about long balls anymore. It was more about connecting, you know, 1-2 here, and eliminating oppositions and actually supporting, you know. Whereas with Gavin, it was, where's Edzai? Oh, Edzai is there. Okay, I'm gonna drop it behind the full back, and then he just need to run.
Yeah.
So that variety also helped me to learn when and how to combine the two systems. So yeah.
Now, you mentioned Tinashe earlier on. Tinashe, I think, is probably, you know, you rank among some of the best defensive midfielders we've had. I think, you know, you were also at that level. We were speaking earlier on of on the evolution of a defensive midfielder, which was your bread and butter.
Yeah.
How has it evolved over the years to now? I was interested last season with what Coach Ulane Mugana did at Sundowns with Rivaldo Kotsie.
Yeah.
They call it a hybrid 6. It's very complicated.
Yeah, I think that's. I was gonna say that. Like, I think football nowadays is being unnecessarily being complicated. You know. But again, there's always the core basics of every position. You know. The hybrid and the pivoting and all that are just additional. Inverting and all that are just pieces that are for the modern times. And as a footballer, you need to learn all these things so that when you are facing oppositions that are, you know, in that mold, then you know how to counteract their movements. Our role was simple. You are a spine. You don't need to break. You know, you need to protect people, whether in defense or in attack. You don't need to lose the ball. You need to link play. That was it. Nowadays, as a pivot, and
it's
you know,
very complex now.
People end up being the center back when they're in position of the ball. When they're not in position of the ball, they need to push into the central area. It's quite interesting, but if a team gets it right, it looks like art, you know, and that's one thing about football that I enjoy the most. When you see a system that works and you can see that this thing has been worked on week in, week out in training, and it's coming to play. There are certain teams, man, they just there and when we run, we fall.
Come for a point and go home, eh?
Yeah, no. Let's wait for the other team to make mistakes.
Counter attack. No. Okay. Now also there's a new dynamic these days of playing from the back. You know, I think Sundowns does it well. Pirates are trying now with China.
Yeah.
I saw last season at Swallows. Steve tried it, but
yes, go ahead.
Steve tried it, but it was not happy. Yeah. I mean, like at Sundowns, Ronwen, Vala, Grant, Rivaldo. Then from there, Yangiti is the
Yeah.
He's the bridge. Now, before you know it, Alande is on the edge of the box and they're punishing you, you know. What do you make of this thing of playing from the back? Because obviously you as a central midfielder, you could have been a key part of that system.
Yeah. I think sometimes these systems are forced onto players. It all has to do with the coach. Every coach wants to be a modern coach. They obviously look at the global trends and they become part of the global trend. But they don't check the material that they have at home.
Yeah, you need the right players for
You need players that are technically sound, players that are technically aware of their positioning and all that. And it needs time also, you need to practice over and over to perfect it. Like I said, it's a modern trend. As much as I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring this in.
Yeah.
How teams defend goalkeepers nowadays, goal kicks, corner kicks nowadays without players on poles. Remember in our times we used to put someone near pole, and that was a must. And then now we don't put anyone. And now all of a sudden we're all conceding the same. But no one wants to change, go back to the old system that used to work, But again, it's like I said, it has to do with how coaches want to approach their tactical side of things and their philosophies. How many coaches in South Africa you can say they have a philosophy? I think our coaches, they change with oppositions. Their tactics change based on the opposition. Today we're playing direct. We now parking the bus next to games, and you don't get to actually see the identity of the game. Whereas I think the only person who has been really, really true to himself has been Gavin. People can say whatever they want, but
just won 3 league titles.
You
can't complain about that.
You can't complain. His teams are always competing because that's what he knows, and he also understands that football is moving in this different direction, so he will bring Macherman for quick, he knows he has these 2 quick players that will win your second balls, and then you start playing from a certain taking third or taking third. So he's been true to himself, and you can see his teams are playing his philosophy.
But also to his credit, I think now, from being the hardcore Gavin that you always knew all these years, he has embraced this new stuff now. I was impressed. He was at the KFA license, and now he has softened his stance on all this technology stuff. You have to mix it up a little bit to go. Now, at Swallows, you played under a number of coaches who surely must have had a profound impact in your game.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And then starting with Gavin,
Gavin, very straightforward in terms of his tactics, in terms of his words, whatever that comes out of that man's mouth. He means it. Whether it comes out as in flames or a compliment, but he really means it. Funny story with Gavin. My second game in Swallows colours, we played Polokwane City in Polokwane. First half, 50-50 ball, I pulled out of the tackle. At halftime, Jesus Christ.
He came for you, eh?
Yeah. He told me, this is the reason why Swallows let you go. No, this is the reason why Cosmos let you go. He tore into me. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, bro, it's just my second game here. He didn't care.
Can you please give me a chance?
No. And then he walked out, and I'm sitting there.
How can he
I'm
say
looking
this?
at everyone. No one is actually saying, I don't worry, boy, don't worry. They are minding their own business. What is happening in this team? Okay, fine. Second half, I went in, we played. I think we drew or 1-2-1 somewhere around there. And then on our way back, he calls me in the bus. We sat down. It's like, in my team, I don't want weaklings. So if you're gonna play in that position, it's either you become what I'm accustomed to. And he actually mentioned good man. He actually mentioned Peter. If you're gonna compete with these people,
You have to.
this is
to
what I
fight.
expect. Yeah, and that was it.
Mm.
And then we obviously brought in Julio Aliaga.
The Brazilian guy.
I enjoyed my football under Julio very much because everything about him was artistic. You know, Brazilians, they love flair. You don't just play for the sake of.
Did he change you a little bit?
A lot. Like I said, I started enjoying football. And he gave me a responsibility. All of a sudden now I was no longer a defensive midfielder. I was a playmaker. And he will tell them, Porra, give me my player, my playmaker the ball, come on. So I became more involved in the attacking and I made more decisions and the team was playing well. You know, everybody was happy and it's just that we didn't get results where it matters the most. And, you know, with our team owners, if they're paying a coach so much money, they expect, you know, and they didn't see that this thing was a project. He was actually building a project. And this is the first coach that I basically had got a chance to have like a evening dinner with him, his wife, my family and kids, and we talked life in general. Like
No football.
No football. It was like, you know, and what I actually took out of him is like everything that happens off or out of football also have an impact in terms of how you play. So if your life at home is not good, you're not gonna play well. So you need to find balance in between. There's no way you're gonna fight your wife and then go and be a superstar. And
You won't be in the right frame of mind, yeah.
So you need to find that energy, you know. And he, like, it was so funny how he made things look simple and how he used to carry himself. You actually were like, okay.
Yeah, he was a calm, he was not loud.
No, not at all. Not at all. But if he's loud, then just know you actually pissed him off. You know, it took a lot to actually piss him off, but yeah. Yeah. And then I was now in my late 20s there, I think, or just around 30s, and then Gordon came in. Guys, Gordon doesn't coach teams. Gordon manages players. That's all he did with us. Our technical sessions were like 30 minutes maxed and game focused. There was not this thing of spending an hour and a half on tactics that he knows were not going to work. It was always straightforward. And he knew how to create combinations. So he knows in his team, if I've got Lefa, I've got Lerato, I've got Bele, I've got David, there's something that's going to cook that. Yeah, what? In defense, if I have this one, I have that one, there's something I'm not going to consider. So he knew how to place his players. Actually, on his first day, when he joined us, he sat us down, all of us, and then he said, go and put chairs, like positions, you know, and he said, go and sit where you want to play, not where I want you to go and play. So all the players go into there. So you find out center midfield is 6 of us. Right wing, it's only 2 guys. Yeah. And that's defensive only. Yeah. There's still attacking midfielders. There's maybe 4, you know. And he said, I'm not going to move people around. You chose your position. So look at a guy on your left, look at a guy on your right. From today, he's going to be your training opposition. He's your enemy from today. during game times is going to be your partner. So you competing against here.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think if you don't fit in here, I'm going to move you in. No, you fight with this
You're
6
fighting
guys.
with this one, yeah.
Yeah, I fight with these ones. Oh, we used to kick each other. What? No, it was elimination.
Yeah, when you got weekend.
Yeah, no, weekend. We all want to play weekend. There are only 2 slots out of 6. So and you know,
for among yourself, who was there, Lona?
It was myself. I think Negate.
The Georgian guy.
Yeah. Who was there as well? I can't actually remember the other guys. I'm not sure if Mark Haskins was still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were
But it was tough.
6 of us. Yes,
Yeah.
it was 6. Did Macbeth join us before? No, he joined us that year. Yeah, in Macbeth. Yeah, in
an experienced guy.
Very, very, very. He actually made my job simple. He you know, when people start believing in you, he's like, bro, just go do your things.
I'll sit.
I'm here. If you need me, I'm here. And when you turn around and you don't have an option, he's there.
And this is a guy who used to get so much grief for Bafana Bafana, eh?
I don't get it.
Maybe it's misunderstanding?
I guess it was a misunderstanding because, like I said, we judge you based on what we see, but we don't know your role fully. His role was just to protect me. And I enjoyed his protection. And when he says protection, and if they kick me, he's going to nail whoever kicked me. So, don't worry, I'll get them. You know, just push, and he will push me. Like, get in that box, I'm here. Don't worry about defensive duties, whatever, I'm here. And he had that, you know, that voice must be.
Yeah.
If he says hi, we all hi and we move that. So for me, yeah.
Yeah, I do need experienced players like that, yeah.
Exactly. Going back to Gordon, like I said, he knew how to manage players. So we were around 30s, and then he knew how to motivate us, and that's all he did. In every team talk, it will be like, you better than this one, you better than that one, this is what I need from you. In simple terms, and then we go there and then we do the job.
You execute, yeah.
With him, the good thing was like, we knew we were going to win matches. It was a matter of how many goals are we going to score, which changed the complexion of the team. That's why we came second that year.
Yeah, you guys nearly won the league.
We nearly, thanks to Golden Arrows.
With Bele scoring all these goals, eh?
Yeah, no, Bele was on
fire.
On fire. His combination, obviously, with Abu David, Dugu also joined us that year. David Matebula, Chenene was still there, Larato. So we had like quality playmakers, you know, hard workers as well, Nyagaze, and we had Abu Papi Gomeni at the back. We still had Kreke as a goalkeeper. So it was a fantastic team to play in and results driven, which was, we actually said that year we want to bankrupt Swallows by winning matches. I think they paid more bonuses that year than any other year.
And how did you guys manage Larato? Because Larato could be tricky.
Larato has always been tricky, you know. And I actually have this chat with somebody 2 weeks ago because I met him at Loftus. We could have handled his situation differently. Actually, all teams that he played for, we could have handled that differently. I knew personally, if Larato is there, we have 80% chance of winning a game, right? Coach knew he needs Larato for his tactics, okay? So what we did, we tried to manage him, his situation, instead of getting him out of football and getting him help. He will come in not a good condition to train. We'll send him home. Later he will be collected by the team driver to go to the gym, train. The following day he joins us, camp as players. We literally will take water. Bro, here's your 1.5. No PlayStation for you, Mganwami. Go and sleep.
Yeah.
He sleeps. tomorrow morning, we are the ones that make sure that Lerato wakes up on time. We go for breakfast, we do tactics, Lerato scores, we celebrate corner flag, we get our bonuses, we all good and fine. Because that's how we looked at him. We didn't solve the problem, we just managed it. So I know people will be like, yeah, but he made all those choices. Yes, he made all those choices, but what did we do as teammates, as clubs, to actually pull him out of the football environment and put him where we could have gotten help, even if it was like for 6 months or for 1 year, whatever the case might be. Yeah, that's my, now that I'm sitting this side.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, one of the saddest stories of our football. I'm close to him. I do go visit him once in a while, and he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad story. Yeah. Now, Swallows. We were still talking about the coaches. I think Gordon nearly winning the league, and
yeah, and then obviously we came second that year, and all of a sudden Bafana Bafana, and then he left to Bafana Bafana, and then we obviously Zeka took over.
Lollipop.
Yeah, he did well for the first 6 months because we still had the same players and the technical approach or tactical approach. We won the MTN 8, and then a few of the senior guys got injured, myself included, and we somehow lost our way. And I think that season we fought relegation. We survived, you know. A good person, knowledgeable in terms of coach, more of a psychological coach, I'll say, because he motivated us with codes, with videos, and you know, and it worked to a certain point. But you know how soccer players are. Once one says these things they don't work, and then everybody else thinks. You know, like, why are we, you know? So that spiraled out of control, you know, and eventually everybody started doing his own thing. And then DDC came. That it was a new concept, the DDC, and then it confused I think a lot of people. People started not knowing their roles, and they interfered with what was happening in the first team. You know, it was a messy build-up to where we are at the moment with the team. But I think as a coach, he did his part. Our scouting network was not proper.
And then, when did it get to a point where you're saying, did you retire? Did you leave the game on your own terms, or indirectly forced by situations, or how did you leave the game, and are you happy with the way you left the game?
Honestly, while I was still playing, obviously I renewed my contract, my last contract, and in that contract there were certain clauses that ties me to the club, obviously intentionally so, and started seeing gaps in the club in terms of where I want to operate and so forth. And then I started my studies, etc., hoping, you know, things will happen. And then all of a sudden the team gets relegated, right? I still had like maybe 1 year or 2 to play, and when the team got relegated, obviously every plans and needed to be revisited. I then started calling, you know, people around. I called Free State, I called some of the coaches, and everybody was like, yeah, no, you need to come in for trials. I'm like,
trials?
Bro, I'm not doing trials. I'm not putting myself to that level. Because when you get there, you're going to be trials with other... I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. You know? You did that athletics many years ago.
Yeah, you understand? No, I'm not going to do that. And then to keep myself fit, I trained with one ABC team in Alex for some time while I was finishing my studies. I think I was left with about 3-4 months to finish, and I ended up finishing in the October of that year. I think it was 2015. And then I said that, like, if I was to move to another team, I need to start from scratch. I need to wear a different color strip. I need, and it didn't sit right with me because I wired myself in a way that I will always be tied up to this team. So being with another team was not an option. So I decided, okay, let me, retire, and then I just, retirement is not the right word, change levels, because we're still playing anyway, but at a different level. So I was like, okay, let me stop being a professional.
Great.
Yeah, let me stop playing being a professional, and then
From full bouquet to 12 channels.
timing. It was a sad moment for me. After spending so much time with the club and having all these, memories with the club. But what actually hurts the most is, as players, we feel like teams owe us something post our retirement. That teams are obligated to bring us back in once you retire. And I only learned that like a year or two later. I was angry. So from now, our handshake, my handshake with Swallows was over a cup of coffee. I was bought a cup of coffee, and then I was told, unfortunately, we're not gonna work together going forward. That was like that.
Well, at least you got a handshake.
I got a coffee.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I got a coffee. For me, the coffee is more important because the handshake didn't mean anything to me, based obviously on prior discussions. And I was so mad for the next 2 years, trying to make sense of things, until obviously I got to where I am now, the current employment, and met up with shoes, Tapu Mashishi. And then we started talking about football in general and how we as former pro footballers are, I don't know, behaving is the right word, or maybe for the lack of a better word, towards our former employees, And he made it clear to me to say, you build a brand around another brand. That brand paid you for your services for that period. They literally don't owe you anything. So if they are to pull you back in, it's because they want to, not because you deserve to. And it made sense then, because he's played football before. And it made sense. I was like, okay. I now understand this thing. Because now I was wired, I'm going to spend my entire life here. And then all of a sudden nothing happens. And then post that, I think, made peace with it, and then, started seeing things in a different perspective altogether. Hence, nowadays, I get to listen and see most of our former players' interviews. We are so bitter with what happened to us that we failed to live the moment. We failed to see opportunities because we're still tied up to be called legends of. But we're not building ourselves for the now and the future. We can be in a much better place if we currently we're telling positive stories about ourselves. But we are so stuck on the negativity that someone paid me from the boot of the car. But you're not saying as much as we were paid in that method, there was a reason why that guy was paying you that way. He was running away from tax. You know. So what did you learn? Don't run away from tax, because the majority of people that were paying us from the booty of the tax, SARS caught up with them. You know. So now what we need to do is tell positive stories about our experiences. We need to, as much as we experience the bad, but I think the good that happened in our careers are more important than being stuck in the past. We have so much to be grateful for. How many players will actually, or people will put their names next to Gavin Hunt, will put their name next to Benny McCaff, will put Steven Pinar, you know? And we don't need to be ashamed of all those experiences, but we need to be able to communicate the lessons. I don't think we focus more on the lessons.
Yeah.
What did we learn from being cheated on a contract to being all of a sudden your contract expires, but there's another copy that you were not even aware of.
Pages missing.
Pages
that
missing.
Comes after.
You know, there's an hour and a dime that you didn't know. Those kind of things, you know, because like I said, when we started, money was not an issue. Contract were complicated documents. All we wanted was the last page. That's all we wanted. How much am I going to earn? And that was a gross salary. We didn't know how much the tax bracket. We didn't know all those things. So now we're in a position where we can tell those stories, and from those stories we can actually say, this is what I learned from this, and I think it's working for me, and for the coming generation, these are the pitfalls. And by knowing how to access information, we can actually, you know, be able to eliminate some of the pitfalls that we, you know, fell into.
We've been talking for a while now. I think we're going to start wrapping up now. I think we're getting carried away by the discussions. It's very nice, the discussions. As we sit here, me and you now, there's a name, Moroka Swallows, somewhere out there. But the reality is that the team does no longer exist. I don't want to make you cry, but I don't know if I've got a tissue paper here or something, if you're going to cry, but yeah.
No.
How do you feel, man?
Swallows' demise was not something that just happened. It was a build-up of a series of
events
that like happened over a very long period of time. And being part of that system and being a captain of the team who had access to obviously management and obviously ask certain questions that sometimes were very offensive to management, because I needed to understand certain things so that I can communicate clearly to players. Which never happened a lot. Clarity around bonuses, clarity around signing on fee dates and all that. So all this happened because I personally believe there was no vision for the club. We were living year to year, season to season, you know, grant. No marketing, no nothing. Actually, players on field were marketing. If the team wins, we're all good. If we don't, you know. So there was the overall structure. Was it a proper football structure? Now sitting this side and being involved in with the other team, you realize, no, we were like maybe 10, 15 people off back then to be a complete football, you know. And then you realize decision making. Who was the person who was making decisions? How were they communicated? Were they for the betterment of the club or the players? Was there a vision to safeguard this brand, the legacy of Swallows? And then you realize people were just short-sighted. And I remember some people will blame Leon because he was the GM.
Little Prince, yeah.
Yeah, but I still remember he always asked a simple question: is everything fine up there in Joburg? Because he was Cape Town based. Yeah. Is everything fine in Joburg? And everybody would be like, we cool, sharp. But we were never cool. You know, there were small things that were creeping into the system, you know. I'm not going to mention things, but more important, I'll mention the player side of things. We started recruiting below par players. People started managing players. Management became player agents and, you know, all that mess. And now all of a sudden certain players need to play certain amount of games because there are bonuses that when he gets the bonuses, the agent will get money. And so it became chaos, and then coaches became friends with agents, and then they brought their own players. And then you see in a team now all of a sudden you have 5 players from one agent. 2 of them play in the same position. Then all of a sudden someone decides to go on a holiday in Brazil and then comes back with 3 Brazilians who played in an amateur league to come and play in the PSL. And then you start questioning all these things and you become a bad person to say, yeah, but you're not part of the management. This is a management decision. But yes, it's a management decision, but I'm going to play with these people. And this is what your expectations are. So it was more like a series of all those things. And then it wasn't a money issue. We never had a money issue at Swallows. Anyone can say whatever they want. Our bonuses were always paid on time. Our salaries were always paid. Our sign-on fees were always paid on time. And even at some point, if needed, we always got advanced the sign-on fees. There was never an issue with that. Like I said, it was simply just not having a proper plan, vision for the club. And then we got relegated, and from there it was just
downward spiral.
A quick one to where we are. To your next question, and then we were brought up. I know that was gonna. And then we came up.
We came up
with expectations.
Yeah.
Everybody was happy. I was like.
Yeah, I mean, I always saw you at Dobsonville during the home matches.
Yeah, you know. And then, like I said, you know, I'm the other side looking from the back room. And then now I got to see, okay, let me just be specific about it. Being closer to Sundowns, I got to see how they operate their model. And then I got to start checking Swallows if things changed. And I realized nothing has changed. The container changed, but the medicine was still same. You know? Yeah. And I started getting closer to the club in terms of, hey, I saw you guys doing this. What's happening here? Do you need help? You know? Offered help for free for a certain time. I had some other Grotmans in the PR, in other marketing department who wanted to help for free. They were always rejected. So how the DDC team, attended some of the DDC teams, got there, they only had 1 or 2 subs on the bench, 1 coach and a water boy. And then that's when you see there's a problem. You know, a lot of people try to help. But my frustration came when there were talks of no. My frustration actually came when they missed a match the Sundowns.
That in December.
That is not supposed to happen at all at any level, irrespective of excuses. It's unjustifiable. That's me, you know. Before they brought up the status, they consulted fans who were willing to help with buying shares, irrespective of how much money they made out of it. When the team is struggling, no one consulted these people. And that's where your solutions were. That's my take. I think the solutions were going to come from that group, because they fell in love with the club and they obviously didn't want to, see the club go back down again. And then, last bit, the club was on sale, right?
No one wanted to buy it.
No. The club is on sale, okay? Sharp. The club is on sale because PSL refused to approve a sponsor. But you don't get details in terms of what exactly was disapproved. PSL is guided by certain rules and regulations that are meant to protect the league, or let's call it the league, to protect themselves against people benefiting, maybe let's call it unofficially, from the PSL brand. So they will never allow anyone to come in and disrupt that. So from the Swallows' perspective and the potential sponsors, what was so difficult to tailor the deal or structure it according to what is allowed? Which for me, I might not know the details, There were people, myself included, who offered, because there's a lady that I know that does sourcing for sponsorship for clubs, and she sometimes does for rugby. I offered to say, I can link you up with this person, and then they can try and assist. How you guys go forward with the discussions is up to you. The store will get back to you, but it never happens. And then all of a sudden, we sell in the club. Okay, cool, because it's now it has become a burden, financial burden to you, but you forgot why you brought it up in the first place. This was not to be owned by A and B. It was to be owned by, that's according to me, the Swallows community, because those are the people that you called in the first place, needing their blessings, needing their, input in terms of how you want to structure the whole thing. Now that you have problems, you're not going back home to, and then someone said to me, Lefa, us as business people, we see a property, we look at the property, how much we need to spend on this property to move it from A to B to C, and when it gets to C, how much can we sell it? Maybe
those
this was
business
just
people.
Those are business people. Maybe. Yes, from where we bought it to where we sold it for, you can't tell me, but again, assumptions, we don't know. We don't know. But it hurts, not just for me, I think for the football fraternity in general. We're so getting used to having Swallows back, seeing the maroon and white every weekend. Now it's normal, and it's not just normal in terms of it has went to a lower division. It's just not
Doesn't
there.
exist.
It doesn't exist. And to bring it back again, whoa,
Yeah, it's going to be another one, that one.
yeah,
It's going to be another one.
But again, you never know. It's
It is what it
this
is.
is maybe I might end up buying it one day.
Well, we don't know.
We
All
don't know.
right. Let's wrap up now. You are a full Bafana Bafana international. I still feel should have played more than just 10 matches. But I always say playing for Bafana Bafana during a time was also not an easy thing because of the competition and the quality of players that were there. But having said that, I still feel you should have played more than just 10 matches for this team.
I think so too. However, I need to be realistic in terms of when did I actually break into Bafana Bafana. We were to host 2010 World Cup, and I think I started with my Bene Plus 2008, and then started getting into Bafana Bafana towards the end of 2008. So I was Bafana Bafana, and the coach were trying to trim their team already for the World Cup. Actually, I got the World Cup, the Confederations Cup, because it happened in 2009. So they were already in that process. I was new getting into the system. I offered whatever I could at that point. And secondly, the majority of our players during that period were overseas based. And it was not manga plays.
Yeah.
You know, so now I'm happy because I gave my best shot.
Yeah.
And I knew after playing the first game with this guy that I was not at the international level. I needed more games to get to their level. But because of the Confederations Cup coming up, the coach was never going to give me time to grow into Bafana Bafana.
It was Pereira.
It was Pereira and Santana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Santana. So it was never going to give me time to grow into the system. There was no time. And in a year, how many games does Bafana Bafana play? Maybe 8. If there are qualifiers, 10 the most. If there are 2 friendly matches to honor Papa Madiba and you know, because so my timing I don't think the timing was perfect. I enjoyed every minute of it. You know, I always say sometimes I downplay my achievements, but being around Stephen, being around Benny, being around Aaron, being around Kune, being around Tiko, Shaba, you know, these are not just your regular plays. I was part of that, you know, and sometimes I just need to pat, you know, my back a little bit and say, dude, you actually competed with the best.
Not too bad.
You know, Tiko, come on. The Khachwe, you know.
When was the top player during the time?
100%. 100%. And this majority of them were playing overseas. And it wasn't, they were like 4 5 years is playing overseas. And I just came back from my Bene Plus.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very much grateful with my time with Bafana Bafana. So.
And I mean, when, like you're saying, I think you don't give yourself credit enough, or people don't. When you look back generally yourself, when are you happy? Any regrets? Are you happy with your contribution?
I am, but there are certain things that I think if I knew them earlier, I could have achieved more. First is my my character, personality, you know. I think my personality made people, as in players and management, to be comfortable around me, and to a level that at sometimes they took advantage of. I wish I had the 10%, 15% arrogance yajali. I wish I had that, where I was able to tell someone that I deserve this. If you don't give me this, it's not gonna happen.
No deal.
You understand me? I knew I was good enough, but I grew up in an environment where, no, just don't put yourself under pressure. Things will come. If they were meant for you, they will come. So I never actually kicked doors to make sure they actually opened for me. It was more like, if I work hard, these things will come. If I do this, they will come. And eventually, yes, they come, but they don't come in, you know. It's, we see you.
Not what you fully
You understand
deserve,
me? But deep down, I know, nah, bro, this is, I need to be, you know, at that level. Even with my agent at that point, we had issues, a lot of issues, because if you're saying you're going to manage me, what are you actually managing, because you're not playing on the field? So if you're not going to do certain things off the field where I need you the most, then what's the point? Because you only get to see them when the contract expires, and they also have a space where they need to manage relations, because they need to also keep that relationship going so that they can bring more players. So if they're going to have an issue with me not staying in a certain club because I want to move, and that's going to ruin the working relationship between them and the club, then they try and say, but we tried, but they said they can only offer you, you know, they're not going to fight for you, which I had so many. And then you tell them, no, X and Y called, can you talk to these people? And then they talk to the people, and then you ask them, what's happening? No, they never got back to us. You're like, but I had a meeting with these people, they told me they're interested, I referred them to you, and then when are you telling me they never said anything?
And he didn't do anything.
And then they didn't do anything. You know,
that's how it is.
So, like I said, like I think from my character, that's what I am. But from the playing side of things, I think I could have been more analytic in terms of football in general. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't predict the future. I knew I was good, but I didn't force myself to get to extreme levels. You know, when nutritional people came in and like, you don't have to eat this now. Like, I grew up with this thing. I'm here because of this thing. Why you wanna, you know? That was me, because I thought what I have made me, you know, or what I got used to made me. So if I was to change this thing, it's gonna.
It may affect you.
It might affect me. So I'd rather stick to what I knew. But I never took chances in terms of, oh, okay, now I need to check. Even with video analysis, I never used to worry about anyone. It was just, oh, I'm playing Tico next week. It's me and Tico. You know? But if I knew it,
because those things gives you the cutting edge.
Exactly. So if I knew, in order to contain Teco, I need to cut the supply, I wouldn't even have worried about it. Got worried about it. I would just be worried about cutting the supply. Because if he doesn't get supplied, then he's ineffective. So those are the things that I never really got to understand when playing. I was just focused on, I'm going to dominate my area. Whoever comes in here, I deal with that person. That's it. You know.
Okay, leadership. You were captain for most of your playing, especially at Swallows. Did it come naturally, or did you have to be a captain? Were you given this thing, or?
I stole this thing. It's funny how it happened. Usually I'll just join the club and we're having a team talk, and he's like, guys, who wants to be the captain of this team? Just like that, out of the blue. And I raised my hand.
Oh.
Just like that. And no one raised their hand. So I was like, okay, from today, you're the captain of the club. I'm like, yay.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. That's how it
And
came.
then you turned out to be a very good captain.
And funny enough, it happened.
I spoke to Greg Itafia recently. He actually said that you are the best captain that he's ever played with.
Yeah, no, we went through a lot.
Yeah.
We went through a lot.
Yeah, he actually, he speaks very, very, very highly of you.
Yeah.
And also a good guy. Yeah, all right, now, I've been saying we're wrapping up for now. Quick fire questions now for the wrap up. I think we have touched on a whole lot. We've been talking now for what?
An hour and a half.
And almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the longest interview we've done on Prime Sports. All right. The last few minutes, quick fire questions, Lefa. The best player you've played with?
Against or with?
The best player we've played with, teammate.
Oh, I've been exposed to a lot of
lot,
players,
yeah.
Honestly, I'll say my money peer.
Ngubo.
Yeah.
Underrated, yeah.
He could read games. He could read opposition movement. And like I said, when I joined Swallows, he's the person who was actually guiding me. So he will see the pattern of play, and then he will start shifting me to where the ball is actually going to end up. So he will start moving me to right position. So I'm grateful for that. And technically very sound, very positive person, always wanting the best for everybody around him. And, and straightforward. If he didn't have a good game, he will tell you. If he was better than you on the day, he will tell you. He will even throw age in there to say, I'm at this age when I was better. So for me, he made my time at Swallows to be very bearable.
The best player that you played against when you knew, they are warm.
Yeah. The late Gift Leremi.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. You don't have to explain yourself there. But 2000, we are sorry. You can go to Google.
But I need to add.
All right.
I think we were robbed.
Yeah.
Death did us wrong.
Yeah.
Personally, I feel like Gift was going to be the first South African player to make it big in Europe.
Yeah.
That's how I rate him.
That's all. And is it finally? Do I have another question? Is it finally? Do I have another question? Okay.
Oh, yes. By the way, I'm now at Puma, South Africa.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, we gotta close on that on Live After Football. The best coach? Who coached you?
Julio Leal.
Easy. All right. We are closing now. Were you ready to retire? And then people will want to know, what are you doing now? This is the final question. We're done.
No, I was never ready to retire. I thought I still had 1 more or 2 years left, but the team got relegated. So I took the decision to leave football. And currently
And before you go to Canada, what actually meant was that, we're ready to retire means, when you retire, were you okay, like, after retiring? Because Machida, most of us was regular after retirement.
No. I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay because I grew up in football, and football was the only thing that I knew, and it obviously had to end abruptly and unplanned, and I needed to find myself post that. All I knew was football, so I needed to find myself. I did 2 more jobs before my current one. I was a football manager that lasted like 8 months, and then I did some product technical what do you call this, presentations for Puma regarding football, soccer boots, etc. I did that for maybe 6 months, and then I was out of work for a year and no salary whatsoever during that period. However, I had, you still have some small savings somewhere that obviously carried me for some time. And then had a, when you just sitting and then someone comes and say, oh, you, by the way, you're that guy who played football. Like, yeah, okay, what are you doing? No, I'm just sitting at home. Okay, but you're sitting at home with your name and your brand in football. Who did you contact? Who did you reach out to? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, no one. And I'm just waiting for people to come to me, like as if they owe me something. And it was like, the best advice I can give you is to reach out to people and see if they need help. And then he left, and then I pick up, that was like a random person. And then I pick up my phone. I called James Marlin at Puma, and I was like, James, I'm currently out of work. I think in Joburg I've got, my money will last me for maybe a year or two in Joburg. I'm going to sell my house and I'm leaving. Let me know if there's a opening that will come up. And James was like, no, fine. There's actually a post that's going to come up in a year's time. You know what I said to him? I said, I'll wait.
Yeah.
And I waited for a year. And then because he knew they were going to sign Sundowns, so they needed a football person to manage the relationship. So when the contract was signed, they called me like, bro. And I went there for an interview in a suit. I'm here,
Trying to impress.
I'm trying to impress. We have a Skype call, and everybody laughed at me like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you here in a suit? This is a sports company. You shouldn't be wearing it. I'm like, this is my first day.
And you are not even there. It's an online interview.
Yeah, like, I'm at the office. I went to their office. So they called our head in Cape Town. Yeah. So like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm here for, no, this is not how we dress up here. And yeah, so honestly, my advice to guys that just retired or guys that are planning on, during our playing days, we always get, I don't know, Arintwana, we got you because you are still playing. Don't know, Arintwana, we'll open doors and da, 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 da. But when you retire, all those doors, they get shut down.
Disappear.
Yeah. So now what needs to happen? You need to reach out. We're so scared of reaching out. We're so scared of actually telling people that we need help. I learned from, we have a good working relationship with Tico at the moment. And he also stressed on that thing to say, every time you ask a soccer player, Infant, are you fine? We all fine. But deep down, we're not fine. We need help. We're screaming in the inside. We're fighting with ourselves because, like I said, football is the only thing that we know. We want people to open doors for us because based on what we can offer, I'm not going to talk about what we did, but what we can offer going forward. But secondly, I think this generation now, majority of them are not like the previous generation where they don't have paperwork. Some of them they might have a certificate here of this and that, but I know some of them have got. So they need to come out and, reach out to relevant people. You never know who's going to open up the doors for you. We cannot always be, charity cases on situations that we, to a certain degree, have control over. There's obviously cases where things happen and in a bad way, and people find themselves in very compromising positions, and struggle is real, and we need to, try and help wherever we can. Yeah.
All right. In simple terms, you work for Puma. So that's. I always squeeze in the last question. I know Brati behind the camera is going to he's going to beat me up, but the last question. You are very strong on this issue of calling each and every single former player legend.
Yeah, I think that phrase has been thrown around too many times, and it's. I think it's going to end up losing its meaning. We need to actually go back to the old days, what actually defined a legend, and my understanding is we can look at this in simple terms: longevity of the player in the game, their achievements, and the status that they hold in football. There are certain players that are exception that will spend 2 years in a club that has never won anything, and then they came in and then they change the status of the club, and they make the club win things within 2 years. Those players will be legends for that team, which is cool, but they shouldn't be football legends. People that are, for me, football legends are people that when you call out their names and tomorrow they ask you who should we put on the what do you call it? The Wall of Fame. How many names are you going to throw in the basket? If you don't think that name needs to go on the Wall of Fame, then you shouldn't be calling that person a legend.
Just former players. Yeah. On this point, Lefa, thank you very much. We called you here just to celebrate you, to retrace the steps. I must say, this is the longest interview we have had. We have never gone this far. I guess it shows that it's good discussions. I hope current players who are playing now watch this interview. They'll learn a lot. Earlier on, we mentioned Tinashe Nangwamasha. In my humble view, you and Tinashe Nangwamasha, of the players of the last while, you are up there among the best defensive midfielders I've seen.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm not saying this because you are sitting in front of me, but that's how I feel. You were one of the best players. You gave us a lot of entertainment. I agree that you didn't have that arrogance of Andy Lejali. I think there's nothing wrong with being humble and stuff, but sometimes Coach Mango was speaking about this young boy at Sundowns, the central defender, Malebongwe Khoza. He said that he needs to inject a little bit of that Mabizela arrogance. Then he will shoot to the sky. But anyway, people are different in terms of their character and how they are. But thank you very much. We're doing this because we pinpoint people and we celebrate them. And it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. And
maybe now my parting shot will be directed to the youngsters that has just broken into the Premier League. I think these guys have been fantastic. Like, they make us want to watch this football thing again, and with more interest than before. They shouldn't worry about their age. They just need to be brave, do what they have been doing. And come end of the year, if someone doesn't go overseas soon, I think a 20-year-old will win this Footballer of the Year.
Definitely, I agree there. Let the young players play. They're saying in England, if you're good enough, you're old enough. On that note, thank you very much. Otherwise, we're going to say we're leaving, and we'll never leave. Thank you very much, and see you on the next episode.
Thank you,
Brother Lefa.
You're welcome.